Peter, not too long ago, I had Helen Hayes on my program. And she'd been on the show once before, and I remembered the same thing happened. When she came the first time, she sat in the reception room until it was time, and she, watched the television set, and she was really into it. Second time she came, same thing. When you're ready, call me, and she sat down before the TV set. And both times, she was watching Hollywood Squares.
She's one of our biggest fans.
She is, and she told me, and I remembered that from the first time. So when she came this time, I said, Miss Hayes, I remember that the time you came before you watched Hollywood Squares. And she says, oh, but it's my favorite show.
I got a call once from Mike Douglas. He said, look, Helen Hayes won't do my first show. He tapes 2 shows in one day, once in a while, because your show is on, and she will not rehearse when the show is on. So she's doing the second show. Would you call her? And I said, sure. Now, she said, the phone will ring, and we'll be on air, and she won't know. And I did it, and I had never met Miss Hayes. And I invited her to join the Hollywood Squares, and by George, she came out and did it. And she was adorable. She was just marvelous on the show. I had so much fun.
Well, she told me then that I had missed the particular show that you're talking about, and she said to me then, she said, of course I was a guest on the show. But she said that it made her a little nervous. Did you detect that at all?
Not at all. Well, she's such a pro that you cannot detect nervousness in those people with all those years in the business. But I think nervousness is a sign of being professional. I think if we were too calm and too easygoing, that it's not too good. I think you need a little nervousness that works for you.
Yes, and she said that was such a thrill to be on the program.
I was certain people intimidate you. I think of all the people who have been on the show, I've been intimidated by Miss Helen Hayes and Groucho Marx. I mean, all my life, Groucho Marx and Helen. And he was not a fan, but she was a fan. In fact, I said to him after the show, he didn't understand the function. I said, and he hated doing the show. And I said, please come back and see us again. And he said, the next time I see you, Peter, it'll be strictly social. He didn't understand the function of the show, but he was funny on the show, and he was adorable. And it's the only time I've ever asked the photographer, the NBC photographer, I want a picture with Groucho and Miss Hayes.
Yes, well, I've never met Groucho, but I am a tremendous fan of Helen Hayes. Such a really fantastic lady.
Well, her son does the show all the time, when he's here, James MacArthur from Hawaii Five-0.
Yes. Do you ever ask, you yourself, Peter, ever ask certain celebrities to come on?
I stay away from that completely because I've done it maybe 3 times, and we're entering our 9th year. My sister is Joanne Drew, the actress, and I asked Joni, I said, I've never worked with Joni. And so I asked once for, I don't know if I should, well, I'll tell the story, what the heck. Walter Matthau is an old friend, and I ran into Walter several years ago, 5 years ago, and he said, hey, pal, I love your show, I'll do it. I said, you'll do the show? And I called the producers, and they said, I don't know. I said, are you crazy, Walter Matthau? And they said, well, who knows? I said, okay. The next week, he wins the Academy Award, and naturally, they want him on. So they called him, and he did the show. So I don't want to run into anything like that. I don't want to embarrass my producers, or I don't want to embarrass the stars. And also, then I'll have friends calling me and saying, hey, I'd like to do your show. And not being involved in it, I can say, hey, I have nothing to do with it. Get in touch with Mary Markham, who is the talent coordinator. And I'm free and clear.
Are there some celebrities who just refuse to do it simply because they're afraid they won't come off well?
George Gobel would not do it for 3 years. It took me 3 years to convince him because they wanted George on the show, and he's very special and very funny. It took me 3 years. I said, George, please do it. He said, no, I'm afraid of that show. He came on the show and is a smash and loves doing it and is like a semi-regular now. But, well, yeah, once in a while you'll get someone that really is afraid of it. But we protect them. If they don't know the answer, we give them a bluff. We don't get to let them know the question, but we do protect them. And we're concerned. We want them to look good. And they shouldn't be frightened.
Of all the regulars, which one gets the most mail?
Paul Lynde and Charlie Weaver. Yeah, those
I
are the
would.
two.
Yeah, I would almost bet that would be it.
Oh, sure.
Because they're both so outrageous.
They really are.
Peter, thank you so much for coming by today. It's always a joy to have it.
Well, thank you, and my
chat with
best
you.
to all my friends in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I have lots of them out there.